Hello, welcome to another episode of the ORG podcast with our special guest Todd from EasyRx and Soogalu. Before I bring them on, I want to do some housekeeping, and I wrote them down here. But first, my name's Cade. I own a little lab in Texas with my wife, a true mom and pop lab, and I'm part of the ORG membership, and I help out with this podcast as we can. Sorry it's been so long since the last one, but as you know, a lot of us lab owners, there's some busy times of the year, so sometimes we'll be a little thin on our podcasting schedule during those busy times. So it's hard to schedule other lab owners when we're in a back to school rush or something like that. So many of you probably already realize that, and so you can appreciate that. But some housekeeping. Let me pull up some websites here and show you. This is the website. So this is the ORG. We are the Orthodontic Resource Group. We are a membership membership association of laboratory members, of orthodontists, lab technicians, and just everything under the umbrella of orthodontics. And Todd, our guest today, is a great example of that in the software that he's helped develop over the past few years of bringing all this communication together. So that's what we are a part of. If you want to become a member, just come here, become a member. You can join for as little as $50 or $100. So just come and join the community, and you get access to our Facebook page where you can ask questions that you normally can't ask anywhere else about orthodontic labs. Our second thing is we do have an annual conference. It is here. You can see we're going to put out more information. This is our last group of lab owners. We all are sitting there for this picture. The lab is 2024 ORG conference. It is at the Westin, right next to the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. So if you fly in, there's a free shuttle service. And it's a 2-day conference, 100% pure orthodontic laboratory, business, marketing, and everything. And in a little bit, I'll go over some of the classes we are temporarily, we have penciled in so far. But as you can see, and it is April 5th and 6th of 2024, and the tickets will go on sale early January, so get ready for that. As far as courses, let me show you this part. As you can see, everybody's wearing these t-shirts. We do have some of these t-shirts left, so if you are wanting some of these t-shirts, you can go to the homepage, click on this official ORG merchandise. You get you can see how many we have left. We have a few left. And the front is the ORG logo, and the back is like every single lab owner and ORG sponsor that we have for the 2023 conference. So as of March 2023, if you're a member of ORG, your lab's name's on the back of this t-shirt. So if you didn't get to come to the conference, you can still pick up a t-shirt. Order them big because they do shrink a little in the wash. Just fair warning. But let me pull myself up. I don't know if I can show this temporary schedule or not. But so I'm just going to go over some. And starting out with EasyRx, we got Andy Stark talking the EasyRx Visual DLP course. We're going to have an emphasis on basics of ortho lab, so you can bring your technicians, you can bring your in-house technicians. We'll have wire bending 101, space maintainers, some Essex tips and tricks on trimming those in different types of material. And we'll talk about that material when we talk about Soogalu in a little bit. So, we also have some more advanced stuff. So we have Brandon from Cottonwood Labs talking about MARA, M-A-R-A, construction. And then we have automating your laboratory, and that's Christian Sorryman with New England Orthodontic Lab. And then Michael Wright of ODL, well, his name will come up in a little bit. Are you charging enough? Which is going to be a very interesting course. Are you charging enough for your work? And then, of course, we'll have the famous roundtable discussion with Lance Dottle of Excel Orthodontics. Laser welding demo with voxel sprint, acrylic splint fabrication, back to the basics with Priscilla from JBC and Company. And then we may have a discussion how to start your own lab, in 2024 and what that's going to look like. So register. Keep an eye out. We'll do some announcements, especially first part of January. But save the date and start saving your money for your tickets and your flights, and you can get registered as soon as possible. But that's it for my housekeeping. Make sure I'm getting my list here. All right, so we went over everything. But so the part that I'm excited about, we're gonna bring on Todd Blankenbecler. I'm probably getting that wrong. He is the general manager of EasyRx and a partner over at Soogalu, and we'll get into those things as we go. Todd, thank you for joining us. And how you doing today?
I'm great, Cade. Thank you for inviting me to be on the podcast. I'm honored to be here with the great Cade Tippett. It's a great day. It's a great day.
I may taint your character a little bit, so be prepared for that.
But I'm excited to talk today.
Some of y'all may have seen him at some of the conferences. So he's a regular at a conference, either representing EasyRx, or last year he got to represent Soogalu for the first time.
That's right. We had Soogalu out the first time last year.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. And as many of you know, I like to do a timeline kind of thing. So I like to get, where do we start with things? And Todd, where did you get started in I usually say Ortho lab, but just Ortho in general? How'd you get your foot in that door?
I love telling this story. So if you look over my shoulder, you'll see a Tennessee Volunteer helmet, actually a couple of those. And so I grew up in Knoxville, graduated from the University of Tennessee, and with a degree in business finance, actually. But while I was in school, I got into technology, and when I got out, I started looking to get involved in a software company, and I ended up getting hired, first job out of college, at an orthodontic practice management software company called OPMS.
Yes, that was surprising to me, because I had one of my first doctors I worked for had that software, and it was DOS based, if I'm not mistaken.
So my first job out of college was as a support tech supporting a DOS-based practice management system, OPMS. And we'll say it was kind of December of 89, 1990. And here it is, 2023, and I'm still in the orthodontic industry.
Were y'all the first practice software, computer-based practice software?
Like everything, there's always competition, right? So Ortho 2, which is still going strong today.
They're that old. Oh, didn't realize that.
Ortho 2 had a DOS-based system, and then Ortho Track had a Unix-based system.
Oh, wow.
Which they call OrthoTrack Classic today, and at that point it was just OrthoTrack. And so there was a couple other smaller ones, but there were 4 or 5 competitors, OPMS being one of those. But to your point, it was super early in the computer world. Mm-hmm. Networking was difficult. Nothing was in color. Servers, truly crashed back then, and you hope they had a backup. And sometimes practices didn't have backup. But it worked out so wonderful for me, because I ended up in this, wonderful space. And, like I said, I've been in it since then. Kind of the chronology is I did practice management software really for about 25 years. OPMS ended up getting acquired by what is now CareStream today. At the time, it was InfoCure. Then InfoCure became PracticeWorks. And during this period of time, I had transitioned from the tech side into the sales side, and I ended up running sales for PracticeWorks, kind of a sales manager type role. And as you mentioned at the beginning, we've always gone to a lot of shows, or I've always gone to a lot of trade shows, which is kind of just part of the industry. And over time, I had become close with Chester Wang, who owned Dolphin Imaging at the time.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And kind of one thing led to another, and I ended up leaving Practice Works to join Dolphin to help Dolphin launch their practice management product into the market. And so in 2001, I joined Dolphin, February 1st, 2001. Always remember that date. And I sent for the next roughly 15 years, I worked at Dolphin and led Dolphin management getting launched into the market, ran their sales department, ran development at Dolphin management, and had just a wonderful, wonderful experience with Dolphin. Great friends to this day. In fact, last Friday, Chester celebrated 35 years at Dolphin. Wow. And they had a surprise party for him, and I jumped on I didn't go to the party. It's in LA, but I jumped on the call and connected with Chester and everybody because we're all still friends. And to kind of keep the story going here, we had sold Dolphin. So I joined Dolphin in 2001. In 2008, we sold Dolphin to Patterson. I was one of the principals at Dolphin. And so we did the deal with Patterson, which has been great for Dolphin. And so I worked at Dolphin Patterson from 2008 and ended up being until 2017. And after about 3 or 4 years, I kind of started getting the itch to go back to a startup software company.
Right.
And Dolphin management was reasonably stable at the time. Patterson was very stable. And I kind of had that itch. And the original founder of Dolphin is an orthodontist. His name's Mark Limpchin. He's in New York City. And Mark and I had become friends. And we started looking for software. We want to do a technology company in the space. We started looking, considered all kinds of things. And Mark got connected to EasyRx, and which is how we got connected to Jim and Mike Wright.
Yeah.
And so we just reached out. Mark actually put EasyRx in his practice, loved it, called me up and said, I think this thing could be really cool. So we just reached out to Jim and Mike and said, hey, we're interested in getting into the software game. Would you take on a partner? Would you, whatever, just exploring. And they were a software company, but they were really a lab trying to do software. And
right.
One thing led to another, and we ended up taking over EasyRx from Jim and Mike. They was around partners with us, but we ended up running it day to day. What was that, Kate?
Is that around 2017, you said?
Yeah, we actually did the deal late 15.
Okay.
And I stayed at Dolphin all through 2016 while we just kind of got things settled. We hired a couple of people, one of those being Thomas Williams, who is still with us today.
Yes, he's the one that brought me on board.
Yeah, Thomas is great. Tom Zambito was there, and Tom is still our lead developer on EasyRx today. So we took 16 and we reorganized a few things. We did a little round of funding, and then I took the plunge and left the cushy corporate job February of 17. I have a very, very supportive wife because, what was it? My kids would have been, 12 and 10, 13 and 11, so a lot in front of us as a family. And, here I go do a little startup. When we took over EasyRx, there were 13 labs using EasyRx.
Oh, wow.
And
that was a scary low number.
It was, software companies now, we all sell on a subscription. And so you look at what is my monthly recurring revenue? What's my MRR? And it was very, very low at the time.
So you had a very supportive wife.
Yeah,
very supportive. But
I wanted to, something I really wanted to do. And so I left Dolphin, joined, officially February 2017. February is when I make my jumps, I guess. And, here we are, 2023, I think, it couldn't have gone any better with EasyRx. You know, loved, and for me, I'd always been on the practice management side, so I knew a lot about how a practice worked. I
Yeah.
knew very little about appliances and how they're manufactured. So I didn't know, I knew virtually nothing about the lab side, other than I could say specialty and Great Lakes because I would see them at trade shows.
Hmm.
Flex, right?
But and that's where I liked EasyRx because it was developed by a orthodontic lab,
Yeah,
and
sure.
that's why they always had my attention. From I think 2014, we had Mike come to the show and talk about EasyRx, and I was just blown away. This is exactly what we needed in the industry, especially with the oncoming of digital coming in.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting path I would like to explore. Is you knew the practice side. It seems like when y'all took over, you made a push toward the practice side
Yeah.
using front practice facing software and lab facing. And then they see each other. So is that something that you consciously
We,
pushed for?
we did. In fact, that's really what we did in 16 is so we kind of went into doing the deal with Jim and Mike. We really saw EasyRx as a powerful practice solution. Not that great for labs, but
Yeah.
what you said, we knew digital was only going to continue, early stages of 3D printing, but just day-to-day practices struggle keeping track of their prescriptions.
Mm-hmm.
And orthodontists, certainly one of the characteristics of an orthodontic practice is they see a lot of patients.
Yeah.
And so they manage a lot of prescriptions, and they've got to send those to different labs based on skill set or price or
Mm-hmm.
preference. And they often have an in-house lab.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're juggling all of this, and they're all tracking it before EasyRx, but we really felt like we could help the practice. So we went into the deal planning to make it more of a practice-focused solution. And so really in 16, that year before I jumped over full-time, we were kind of re-engineering the business to become practice-focused. So, we had to redo the website messaging. We had to come up with pricing for the practices. We had to communicate that to the lab customers because we were going to be changing how we were selling it. So we had to go through this whole transition of making it a practice and lab focused product. And truthfully, 16 was prove the model. I mean, is this going to work, right?
Right.
I mean, it was great. Hey, we'll just start selling practice. They're going to love it. And, we really, it's really the second half of 2016, we went to the AO. We sold a few deals, not as many as we hoped, if I remember. But something happened kind of the second half of the year where by the end of the year, we were like, we feel like this could work. Todd, you got to leave Dolphin and we got to run this thing full time because we got a chance here.
There's a chance that this thing could take off.
There's a chance this thing could take off. And I'll say so much of it, sometimes it's a little bit of luck. You always have to have a little bit of luck, right? Intraoral scanning was really taking off. And then we didn't know anything about 3D printing. And 3D printing really took off about the same time.
Yes.
And our workflow of EasyRx is important to 3D printer workflow. And then we added in the ability to trim base and label a model, which was big, because it really made sense with the workflow.
Yes.
So we got, the timing was right with 3D printing.
And that's where I started seeing this thing's a hub. It's a
hub.
It's a hub of everything. All the practice softwares plug in, and the 3D printer softwares plug in
right there.
And all that stuff plugs in. And I was working for another lab in 2016, and I was like, listen, we got to do this EasyRx thing, and they're like, no, it's too expensive. And I was like, but this digital thing, we're starting to say, hey, lab, I just bought a intraoral scanner. Do you 3D print? Oh, no,
No.
And then we start 3D printing, and then what do you do with all the files? They're saved on folders on your desktop, and hopefully you upload the right one into the right thing. So
Yeah.
I think y'all hit it right at the right moment where.
I would be remiss though if I didn't say that what Mike and Jim had built, the foundation of EasyRx, architecturally, technically, it was really, really solid. We did some due diligence on the technology. It was really, and it remains really solid today on the technology side. We can truly scale as many customers as we need to.
Mm-hmm.
And then the interface is nice and clean and simple, easy to use, easy to train. And so really, and I know
EasyRx. No, I'm
EasyRx.
kidding.
I know Mike did a lot of the UX, and Mike did phenomenal work with just the look and feel and usability of these. We haven't changed it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't revamped it just to revamp it.
They got the function of the Ortho Lab.
It works, and it's in, we're all in a browser, and it's fast in a browser, and so we had a phenomenal foundation to build our new business model on.
And most practice softwares and most lab softwares, they were downloadable apps that you had to download and then put them on every single computer and then network your computers. And so this being browser based, I thought was amazing. And I know I mentioned price before. Was price something y'all worked on? I feel like y'all brought the price down for labs to make it more affordable for
what we ended up doing
practices.
is we added more options for the labs. So there's a entry level where they can just pay to receive scripts, and entry level is not the right term because it's a pretty full featured product.
Right.
And then they can just do, if they just want to receive cases and base models for printing, they can do that. And then if they want to do management, where they're doing invoicing and integration with UPS and barcode scanning, which I know you do, they can do that. So we added more options on the lab side because we were selling to the practice, and the practice would say, hey, what if my lab doesn't use EasyRx? Well,
Right.
we'd say, well, you can invite them, and they'll only pay for the scripts that they receive from other practices. And if you're paying for it, they don't even pay anything. So we made it easy for the lab to get on board.
Did that go the other way too? Did you get a lot of sales coming from the lab side? Was it? I sometimes had pushback from a doctor saying, "Oh, I don't want to get a new software," but then sometimes I'd get maybe the younger orthodontists are like, "Sign me up. What do I need to do?" Is there a percentage in your head of sales that came from labs selling to doctors, and vice versa?
But it's an interesting question. I would say that most of our practice customers, and 75% signed up, but the practice decided to sign up for EasyRx.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
most of the practices see the value of making their practice better, more efficient by using EasyRx.
And that's 100% because once you started the integration with the scanners, iTero integration was huge.
iTero was huge, and being around in the industry a long time, being in practice management, I knew everyone in practice management, so we were able to get all the practice management integrations. So we integrate with Dolphin and Ortho 2 and OrthoTrack and Tops and Cloud9 and Oasis and Focus and Wave, right? And so we could really facilitate that workflow of being a practice man. They're at the chair, they're in their practice management software. That's what they're using.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do a script, launch EasyRx, pass in some patient data, fill out the prescription, attach the iTero scan through the integration. So, and boom, send it off to the lab. And that takes seconds.
Right.
And then they have a case that they can track. Did we get that case submitted? Where is it? Is it back? I mean, all that stuff.
And for labs, for me, it really cut back on phone calls and where's this case? Do you have this case? Do they could track it first, and then like you said, integrating with like a UPS World Ship and things like that, where you can actually put the tracking number on that case, and so if they're looking for somebody's retainer, they go, "Oh, it's delivering today. Okay, I don't have to bother the lab. I'll let them keep bending the wires."
Yeah. So just some numbers. I mentioned we started there about 13 labs, maybe maybe, I don't know, 50 to 60 practices submitting, maybe more, a few more than that. But today, last month, we had right around 2,350 practices submit at least one case or
Oh,
base at
wow.
least one model in EasyRx. And around 450 labs do something in EasyRx in the last
Wow.
month. And so, pretty crazy to think from, 13 and 50 or 60 or 70 to 2,300 and
Yeah,
450.
less than a decade later, and you're
Yeah.
I don't even know what percentage increase that is.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy. And, there's not that many labs, and you probably got 10% of labs total,
Yeah.
crown and bridge and dentures and everything. And
Well, and that's EasyRx. And then, in 2019, as EasyRx expanded into more and more labs, we got into a few more dental labs receiving cases with EasyRx. And they would ask us about lab management. And the EasyRx lab enterprise solution, which you use,
yeah,
it's very ortho focused. And the dental lab would look at it and say, it's
they
close.
do
But
things a little different.
yeah, they do things a little different. So we went looking for integration partners on dental lab management software. So I went and talked to Magic Touch, and I talked to LabNext, LabTrack, LabStar, and I ended up at Genmar. And,
Right. That was the next step on my notes, was
oh,
talking about Genmar.
yeah. And so we ended up really going out looking for integration partners. Andy Stark, the owner of Genmar, he was in a position where, he suggested, well, what if EasyRx acquired Genmar and we delivered this whole solution of practice facing ortho lab and then have a dental lab management solution? And, that made sense to us. And so in 2019, we acquired Genmar, and they have a legacy client server based product, DL Plus,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have a browser based solution, Visual DLP, which DL Plus kind of flipped around a little bit. Visual DLP is where the Visual DLP name comes from. And so we now have a dental lab management solution that works in an ortho office that, we have. So, we're now in the dental lab space. So we have, even more customers using Visual DLP now.
And that's amazing. I remember y'all added some dentures and crowns and stuff in EasyRx, and that was probably an easy add, just like adding an appliance
Yeah.
that somebody requests is an easy add. But things where, as your lab grows, where like just basically high level surface, what does DLP add? It, like, you can assign cases to technicians and track it that way, that kind of thing, and
so
then shipping
it's
and
going to be it's got detailed workflows. So you not only can you assign text to cases, you can lay out to manufacture this appliance. It takes these 12 steps. It goes to these three departments. These three techs need to work on it, and each step should take this long. So you can lay out very detailed workflows, and all that's going to tie back to the workflow, so they know exactly where an appliance is in manufacturing.
The doctor side.
So not on the doctor side. It's still. In EasyRx, it just says checked in or completed.
Okay.
We don't, but just inside the lab.
Okay.
Inside the lab, they know that. So and probably a little bit more robust invoicing compared to EasyRx. They can do some pretty good invoicing. We do payment processing and Visual DLP, so you can send your statements out, and practice can pay their statement through EasyRx or through Visual DLP.
Oh, nice.
It's got like on the UPS side, it can consolidate practice orders into one shipment. So if it detects, this practice has 3 different orders or prescriptions, let's print one shipping label and put that in one box and ship that out. So it consolidates shipments. So it's got features like that.
That was one of the things. And just a shameless plug. Andy's going to be speaking at our conference
Yes.
And so Andy, the person from DLP, Genmar, will speak about this integration and how it can work in your lab too. So keep an eye out for
Yeah.
that.
Just to explain that a little bit, Andy joined, when we combined Genmar with EasyRx, Andy came over and he really still runs that part of the business. And he was the architect of Visual DLP. So Andy writes code. And so he's still intimately involved in Visual DLP. And so he's going to be at ORG, presenting, because what we've done since 19 is we've totally integrated EasyRx. So cases flow from EasyRx into Visual DLP. So your practices can use EasyRx and you can use Visual DLP.
Mm-hmm.
Visual DLP will run fine in an ortho lab. And it's got all those additional features. So we really lead on the lab management side. We lead more with Visual DLP now because it does have some additional features that the enterprise part of EasyRx does not have.
Right. Because, right now I'm enterprise and I download my invoices out of EasyRx, upload them into Xero, and then run statements from that. And
exactly. You've got that extra little step.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which I was just happy to have that because one of the things I loved about EasyRx was it didn't replace an employee. It was an employee. It didn't replace one. You could send that employee out on deliveries now or go and put them in the back and do some production because it took away all these little things that you would have to do, itemizing invoices or, like you said, batch shipping things.
Yeah.
Once you set it all up, one of the things I always said was it's easier. It's easy. EasyRx is once you get it all set up and it just kind of runs.
Yeah.
So,
I thought of something as you were saying that, and to jump back a little bit to making EasyRx practice focused. In 2020, which we all know what went down in 2020.
That was on my notes to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. So EasyRx won the AAO Ortho Innovator Award. And this is a fairly new award. The AAO started maybe 2018-ish, 19. But you submit your product, and it's the general description is they select the most innovative product positively impacting practices. And in 2020, EasyRx, I think we beat out 19 other companies as the most innovative new product positively impacting practices. And that really validated what we had been kind of pitching since we flipped the business model. But EasyRx really helps the practice. It really fills a void that obviously, they need, right? Which is tracking their prescriptions in one application. So that was a big deal to us. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. We're obviously very proud, humbled to win that. Probably the worst year to win it because there was no AAO where it wasn't presented to us.
There's no pictures of you on stage.
There's nothing on stage.
Getting an award.
Exactly. We paused this. I could run downstairs and grab the plaque that they sent me because I do display it proudly in my house.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, we'll have to put a picture on it. Of you holding it.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
And
very proud of that.
And it well deserved too, because I know you changed Ortho Labs. Not just changed, but you were there alongside Ortho Labs when digital came. Because a lot of us were lost, and we needed things like the ORG, which was the AOLP back in 2019. Just like, what are you doing? How are you 3D printing? How are you getting your scans in? And at the time, they're like, we'd just get them in through email, and
Dropbox.
Dropbox or something like that. And,
to your point, it was shocking the number of times we did a demo, and they said, we're emailing the STLs.
Yeah. And that takes a person, sole job is to get those, make sure you don't miss one.
Yeah.
And put them in the right file and
And then you print. I mean, and then keeping it connected to the right patient. I mean, it was fraught with issues.
yeah, and putting the wrong name on the wrong model. That's
Yeah.
that was great when y'all started the EasyRx 3D where you could open it up. I think Mike at the time had it where you could just view the model.
Yeah.
And then y'all added the basing, which is huge, and naming, which pulled the name from the file that you just opened it from, so you can't screw that up.
You can't screw it up. Yeah, no, adding. Yeah, you're right. Again, back to Mike did a phenomenal job on the foundation.
Yes.
We had an STL viewer built in when we took over, and then Tom, who's still with us today, Tom wrote all the 3D function, and
Wow.
phenomenal work.
And it takes place on Amazon servers and not your local computer.
Exactly. So it's all in the browser. So you don't have to install anything. You can log in from anywhere and work, and it runs fast in a browser. I mean, so it was company changing for sure.
And this is something that I'm proud to say I was a little bit of a part of a test group on bracket removal.
Yeah.
And it started out where you had to, do each one individually. Yeah, you had to draw around each one, and then y'all went, "Hey, we're going to do auto bracket removal." And I was like,
auto
what?
Bracket removal. That was
and
cool.
auto basing.
Then we added auto basing, and we now have auto PTS trim line generation. So and we will see this more and more where people are using retainer or aligner trimming machines to trim your retainer or aligner. I don't know if it'll be as fast as 3D printing, but those machines will become more and more common. Mm-hmm. And so we generate that trim path. So you print the model, form the aligner, put it on the trimming machine, pass in that PTS trim line, and the trimming machine trims it using that PTS file as a guide. And so we support that through our AI software. And we just released this week, which we have running at one site, auto blockout in our AI software.
Oh.
So you're going to be able to, there's 4 or 5 different parameters you'll set, and it'll do blockout for you while it's basing the model.
Oh, that's amazing. So you're doing a splint or something.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
And this is what I love about software. It's so cool. You'll just pass in an original STL file with brackets on the teeth, and in minutes, you'll get back a based model with no brackets, and if needed, blockout added.
And that's where that not replaced. I want to say replaced. That's the bad word. It's an extra employee that you're hiring, paying for this, and that's why I can justify the cost every single month. I think of it as an employee. It's somebody, I don't know, squirrel over on Amazon servers just clicking and making me models all the time and sending me the results. And
the buzzword more efficient, but this truly makes your staff more efficient. You will get more out of your staff, because while this is, while you're having 20 models based in 3D AI, you can go do something else.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. You can run the printers or go make the appliances on those models that were made.
Yeah, exactly.
And, right now I'm having my son learn how to base the models, so he appreciates the AI doing it. And so he's got to walk to work, and he's got to manually base the model, right, to really appreciate it. Yeah, he's got a 70-step walk.
I was going to say, it's like right outside the back door, but he's still got to walk to work.
Yes, still got to walk to work. He doesn't get to drive. But and so we're having him do the manual basing, clicking through the steps, and so he can appreciate that. And my aunt, who delivers for me and stuff, and she runs the 3D printer, she misses, because I started doing that. I was like, we're going to do this, and she can't. She's a different generation.
Yeah.
Retired teacher, and she's like, "Can I just do the AI?" So we're getting requests for that.
Yeah.
So that I like I said, that was fun to be a part of. And I was just amazed
I
at
think you
how
were the
well.
first. Weren't you the first one to use auto bracket removal?
I might be.
Yeah,
I don't
think
know.
you
I
were.
don't know how many suckers you had on that.
Well, I think we put it at Mark's office because Mark always tests everything for us. Mark Limpton, he's got an in-house lab. But I think you were the first commercial lab to do ABR for us.
Oh, and I think I had a office that did that. Would send me scans with brackets on there,
Yeah.
and it was actually faster at the time for me to actually print it with the brackets on,
And
and then
blur 'em
manually trim them off. I was
Yeah.
faster than circling. But then once that hit the auto bracket removal, I was like, oh, and it happens in a couple minutes. It was amazing. As long as the doctor will pull the wire out.
Yeah, the
during
wire
the
is a little bit of the Achilles heel. Trust
Yeah.
me, we spent a lot of time trying to get it to work reliably with the wire in. And
Yeah.
sometimes,
It's-
with auto brag removal, it's done so many scans now that the technology truly gets better. I mean,
Yes.
AI is legit, right? It gets better.
It learns.
It learns. And a lot of times it'll take the brackets off just fine with the wire in, but it's hard to say we're 100% supported.
Well, and we have that problem anyway with stone models. We still get with the wires in. You know the wires slice through the alginate impression like a cheese cutter. And you get chunks of impression in there. So new technology, same problems.
Yeah.
So, but as far as you are constantly innovating and talking about adding future things to the EasyRx software, but to transition a little bit to the new partnership you're part of, which is if y'all noticed on the home screen, if I can click on the right thing, you'll notice Soogalu. Am I saying that right? Soogalu?
Soogalu, yeah.
Okay. So if you notice, Soogalu is a brand new ORG sponsor, and
Right.
and we are. I'll let you start. First off, the name. So start with that, and tell us how all that started.
Yeah. Well, let me tell the story on how we started. Then maybe I'll tell the story on the name.
Okay.
But real quick, which we went through. My history is I've been in orthodontics for my career, a long time, and I love it. I love this industry, and I want to work here. As long as I'm working, this is where I want to work. And a few years ago, Mark and I, we started selling a little product to practices on the side, a lightener foam, which is you spray it into your retainer and you put it in, and it whitens your teeth a little bit, and it cleans your teeth. It cleans the retainer. And we just started selling this, friends and family. And that sort of got me interested in selling supplies. And what I liked about it is, take the order, process the order, ship the order, move on. Mm-hmm. And as much as I love software, the real work on software starts when you sell it, because you got to install it and support it. And, I love it, but so the supply is just a different experience to me. And so through my EasyRx work, I've just really enjoyed getting to know people like you on the lab side. I've really enjoyed learning about how labs work. I love the people on the lab side. And I think collectively we should all be appreciative. We work with a great group of people. Our customer, the orthodontist, and the people the orthodontist hire, they're wonderful people. When we work in a great market, it's a great group of people. Yeah. And then carried over to the lab side. I mean, it's just a wonderful group of people. They're nice. I mean, by design, I think by nature, you guys like helping people.
Yeah.
And so I called Mike one day and I said, Mike, you're going to think I'm crazy, but what do you think about starting a lab supply business? I've got this little product that I'm having fun selling. So that's kind of interesting to me. I love the ortho lab space. Why don't we try to start a modern lab supply business? And fast forward, and we now have recently, fairly recently launched Soogalu. The name is, I went to like Google Translate.
Oh.
And I started Googling like our translating, like cool, our modern, our progressive, until I found a word that sounded pretty cool. And I came across, I think I did modern was like Sugulu in a language. And I just said, oh, that's a cool sounding name. So it is totally a made up name. And then we massaged it into Soogalu, because, this is, we want to be a successful business for sure, but we want to have a lot of fun doing it. I didn't want to do ABC Lab Supply Company.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't want like Ortho Supplies. I wanted
a generic name.
We wanted to be a little different. So we ended up with Soogalu. And it's a funny sounding name for sure. Maybe
it gets in your brain.
Maybe you'll remember it next time you're ordering supplies. But it really is an opportunity. For us, we want to build this modern supply, modern ordering experience. Right? We want it to be simple and fast because we don't want you to have to email or call or text. We want to be able everything through Soogalu. I don't know if we're there yet, but initial version, it's pretty nice looking, functional site. And we really want to work with the labs to build out our product line. And so we have a little thing on there about, we want to hear feedback from the labs because,
yes, I saw that in there.
We want to build a lab supply business for labs. That's really what we want to do here. So right now, we have Keystone for resin, Good Fit for aligner and resin, retainer aligner material. Leone, we've got the Leone lab. We're really going to start focusing on the CAD CAM line of that. We really see metal as the next thing, and we really want to facilitate metal 3D printing. Super expensive. High cost of entry, right? And so how can we help all the labs be able to metal print? We're going to work on that. And then we have our branded supplies, and we've got to expand our catalog. We know that. We're trying to figure out what that means. But we want to support the industry, especially the ORG group.
Yeah. And it looks like, and by the way, if y'all would log in, you ORG members, you can see they are a sponsor on our membership here. And if y'all log in to your, let's see if I can log in, do this live without revealing things.
Yeah. Cowboy style.
Yeah. Go to my account. If you'll go here under authorization, I'm not going to click on it because it's going to reveal it. There is a discount code for members. And I remember, is it 25% off for the rest of the year?
25% off for the rest of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. So 25% off your order for the rest of the year for you ORG members out there, which is pretty significant. In fact, I was shopping on there yesterday, and a box of GT Flex Pro, the retainer material, was like $74 off, which is huge. So take advantage of that.
Take advantage of it. Take advantage of us.
Yeah. So in when you log in, when you click on authorization, you'll see there's a Soogalu for ORG members only. You can get 25% off your order for the remainder of this year. So you only have a few weeks left to use it.
Yeah.
But it looks like, and just to reiterate what you said, making ordering easier. I'm at the point, especially a small mom and pop, I order at midnight. I don't have time to get on the phone. And Priscilla knows this. She probably hates whenever I call her to put in an order. at JBC because we'll talk for an hour and we'll both distract ourselves. So I usually put in an order online on her site because she has an online site, and that's where y'all are starting, is with the online ordering.
Yeah.
Online. And
Yeah.
I know there's some old school people that they love to talk on the phone and stuff, but man, I get to talking like on a ORG podcast, and I'll forget to put my order in, and I have to call back and put the order in. So I think y'all are on the right path there.
Yeah, we hope so. We hope so.
And so y'all got the GT Flex Pro, which is where I first got in contact with Soogalu.
Yeah.
And that stuff is really good. It's probably my wife trims the aligners and stuff.
Okay.
Not aligners. We don't make aligners. Essex. And she, I shouldn't say Essex. That's a brand name. Invisible retainers.
Invisible retainer.
Yeah. And she likes the way these trim and clean up. And then her favorite part is peeling off that blue film on the end. And having it super clear and functionable. So
that's the Soogalu story. We're just getting started, and hopefully we can make this thing bigger and better. But we sincerely want suggestions on what products are, software we could add, or services we could add. We want this to be a lab-driven product.
That would be,
or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you have the CAD CAM screws. If somehow there's a way to get the Leone software through there, that'd be neat too.
Yeah.
Or pay our fee through there, because I think I tried to order it and you got to have a VAT tax because you're ordering it from Italy or something. It was kind of a process to get that software the first time.
Well, I'll dig into that. Maybe we make it easier to get that software.
And you can talk to Leone, because they will be at the conference right alongside Soogalu.
That's right.
And they
Gabrielle and
y'all got a booth there. They got a booth.
Awesome.
So I don't know if y'all are gonna be across the road from each other, across the hallway, but that's another shameless plug about the conference is we have a
EasyRx will be at that also with Andy.
Yeah, Andy will be there with EasyRx showing how take the next step. And I'm going to be sitting there front row in that class because I want to learn more about DLP. And, right now I'm importing into other softwares for other things. So just having everything in one area just sounds wonderful to me. But they're both going to be, Soogalu's got a booth there. EasyRx is giving a talk. So, Todd here, we really appreciate you supporting our industry. And I know you say you love the industry, but sometimes us ortho labs, I call us the redheaded stepchildren of the dental lab industry because we're just so different. But as I named this podcast, made for ortho labs, which is true of what you've been doing. So I really appreciate you joining me on this ORG podcast.
No. Thank you for having me, and been a pleasure. And we're in our little world, right? We're in ortho, and I love it too, just like you do.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, they're the best orthodontists too. And I thought you were an orthodontist for the longest time.
I'm not smart enough to be an orthodontist, I can tell you that.
Yeah, me neither. And the funny thing is, I tell people orthodontists are actually the best dentist because you have to be like top 1 or 2% in your dental school to get into your ortho residency, or you don't get in. And so that means you are the best dentist that becomes an orthodontist.
I know. You're right.
It's a really good industry to be in, and I'm glad that you're part of it, and you took the reins of EasyRx and just made it even more usable for everybody. Just like this association, we try to open the lines of communication with everybody. I think that EasyRx really helped with that communication with the doctors and labs and softwares and printers and everything.
Yeah, well, good. No, it's been great. It's been great.
Well, awesome. Well, we'll end it there, and I'm hoping.
Sounds
Actually, I
good.
got. I believe I have another one scheduled next week with a YouTuber that trains dental assistants. So that
Well,
talking
that's
about the team
interesting.
effort there. So with that being said, I'm gonna say goodbye there. Thank y'all all for joining in.
Thanks,
Uh,
everybody,
and
for
if the,
listening.
we'll add answer some comments in the bottom if y'all for those that are watching this later. So with that being said, I will see y'all all later. Thank y'all very much.
Thanks, everybody.